Serious people that have had sex with someone with a disability. What was different about the experience? Attention. Serious tag notice jokes, puns, and off-topic comments are not permitted. Link. Reddit. com/r/askreddit/wiki/index/wiki_rule. 6. In any comment, parent or child, parent comments that aren't from the target group will be removed, along with their child replies. Report comments that violate these rules. Posts that have few relevant answers within the first hour, and posts that are not appropriate for the serious tag will be removed. Consider doing an AMA request instead. Thanks for your cooperation and enjoy the discussion. I'm a bot, and this action was performed automatically. Please contact the moderators of this subreddit /message/compose/to=r/askreddit if you have any questions or concerns. Dated a girl who was blind about 7 years ago. Having sex with her was pretty normal, although she used her hands a lot more. Edit to clarify a small detail. We dated 7 years ago. The woman in question was born blind and, as far as I know, still is. I had sex with a man missing his left arm and shoulder. He was really good at spooning. 10/10. Would spoon again. Had sex with a mute woman. Honestly wasn't that different. Still lots of moaning, but didn't at all notice during the act. Switching positions was still normal too, since we both gestured with our bodies. My partner was born without a femur in one of his legs. Affects sex 0% from my perspective. He's expressed before that he's disappointed he can never hold a girl up against a wall and have sex while holding her. I can't think of a more uncomfortable position though, and have no desire to try it. So I'm secretly glad that this isn't a possibility. I have cerebral palsy. Am wheelchair bound about 80% of the time, and have such bad muscle spasms and tremors during high activity like 6 that I'm prone to collapse or instant exhaustion. It's made for awkward encounters my whole life. However, it also led to me earning the nickname the human vibrator, and though encounters were awkward, I have never had an experience where they didn't orgasm. Between this and the free parking, I'd say I'm doing alright in life. Dated a girl with manuscript in the past. She walked with a limp and had some motor control issues, but the sex was pretty normal. She struggled being on top, but she gave her all. The profoundly deaf make interesting sex noises. That is all. Interesting noises from a deaf girl. Especially interesting when I wasn't aware of her deafness. We had communicated the whole night in the club via text on her phone. Then her being a different nationality and me being in a different country, Ed assumed it to be a language barrier thing when she kept the phone texting up on the walk back to my room. I was quite drunk, which probably didn't help realizing sooner, but it was an instant realization once the noises began. Was with a girl with a leg amputated above the knee. It was amazing. And the cuddling after was second to none. Hooked up with a blind chick one time. She was very handsy and less judgmental. It was a positive experience. I had sex with a woman who had lost most of her leg to cancer. They had even removed a piece of her hip. The strangest thing was that she really only had one ass cheek. I mean, she had two, but one was really small and the other was quite large. So it was like she only had one. Super sweet girl. I have Tourette's and sometimes I swear or slap myself in the chest. He says it doesn't change anything. Hooked up with a blind guy a few years ago. Honestly, some of the best sex of my life. Intimate as hell. He was a huge cuddler, and we actually talked a whole lot. Even though it was a hookup, we became friends after because of how much we just chatted. lol 10/10. I dated an absolutely gorgeous one-armed woman for a few weeks. Sex was great. Cold and too doggy for obvious reasons. She broke it off with me because I was too immature for her, which I totally was at that time of my life. She ended up marrying one of my good buds and they have a son together. Very happy for both of them. I dated a guy with spina bifida for a few years because he had decreased sensation in his genitals. He discovered masturbation with his nipples in his youth. that was incorporated into almost everything we did. He was also very easily turned on by dirty talk and could orgasm easily in the process of eating pussy. I was lucky. One of the downsides was he had a neurogenic bladder and was an intermittent cath user. So he had a constant UTI. The bacteria was just colonized all over in there, even with condoms. I also had UTIs all the time. A couple of years back I met a lady that was missing a lower leg and had a deformed arm. Took her to my place and went to bed. Not really anything unusual about it at all up until this point. In the middle of the night I need to go to the bathroom. So I step out of the bed and onto her leg. Her prosthetic leg that she had taken off and placed under the bed. I look down and see a foot. This is unusual to me because it has never happened before and I legit, in my drunken train of thought there was a dead body under the bed. It scared the crap out of me. It took me half a minute to realize it was hers. Husband has type 1 diabetes. I always know shit's about to get real when he unplugs his insulin pump. Like yes, unplug that so you can plug into me. My partner is a bilateral above knee amputee and doesn't wear prosthetics. We can't do it from behind, but has extremely flexible lack of muscles and tendons do this. We found some positions that work better for us and others that really don't. 10/10ths would highly recommend shagging him. Edit. Oh you naughty pickles. 5k upvotes. Gonna have to make an OnlyFans for him at this rate. Hes reading this and basking in his sexual prowess. I had sex with someone who had spina bifida and was wheelchair bound. It was pretty normal other than trying to avoid his urostomy bag as I didn't want to accidentally disconnect it and cause a leak. He could transfer himself in and out of bed with ease and had incredible upper body strength, so he tossed me around a bit. We had intercourse, but he couldn't ejaculate, and although he could maintain an erection he couldn't feel it fully. His legs were flaccid, which is typical in someone who doesn't walk. Since he had limited sensation I was worried at first I would hurt him by leaning on him wrong or bending him in a way that legs don't go. But we managed fine. I'm a nurse. Not his nurse, but a nurse just the same. I'm not sure if that helped with my comfort level of his deformities or not. Super cool dude. Very giving lover. And was really great at phone/online sex. The most amazing imagination of anyone I have ever ducked. I had a negative experience. He felt his disability, physical, entitled him to do what he liked with me. He was very pushy and had boundary issues. On a physical level, what I agreed to was pretty good. Hooked up with a girl with a lisp. Her OMGeth almost had me laughing the first time she said it while I was going downtown. My GF has rheumatoid arthritis, fibromyalgia, and several other autoimmune diseases, which means when she flaring, I have to be super gentle, which sucks if I don't, because we both have high libido, pretty experienced, and she is a freak of nature in bed. So when she is hurting, I have to watch for small signs that people might not notice so I don't cause joint or skin inflammation. Good days, crazy illness. Bad days, Disney. I'm really great at the bodily cues now, but it took attentive time and patience. I'm the one with the disability. I have joint problems, and on occasion my knee or hip will just locate. It's a bit of a mood killer when the rhythm goes from op to ow bow. My so only has one arm, only minor differences. I fell in love with her for who she is, so when the sex happened it didn't matter. I always win at play resting though. Shared a floor at my dorm with a girl who had a below the elbow amputation. She had a very soft nub and would rub my taint and balls with it while giving me head or hand jobs. Dated a girl with spina bifida. She was very short and her spine was bent, but it was honestly some of the best sex I ever had. She was wild. Seemed like a completely normal thing to me. Not really 6, but I dated this girl for a few months who had a hair lip, where the lip goes up to the nose, and a bone disease in her jaw that caused her to have surgery, and she literally has a metal jaw. In a hoe. She was Christian and didn't send nudes or wanted to have full blown sex till marriage, but her head game was insane. She could breathe through her hair, lip while deep throating, which she used to her advantage. But once while she was blowing me off, I came and it shot out of the gap in her lip like a snot rocket. My partner has ulnar hypoplasia. So a little physical difference: one of his arms is shorter and missing an elbow, and ulnar too obviously, and both of his hands only have 3 fingers, but the sex is wonderful. We've been dating for 5 years now, and has just like anyone else, but with a few less bones, because we were each other's firsts. We know each other's bodies so well that there's no serious differences. His hands are smaller, and one scoops inward, so if anything with my tiny boobies. He has perfect boob grabbing hands. He's a wonderful guy and I love him, and his little hands more than anything. My girlfriend has muscular dystrophy. Besides a few positions she can't do, it's still the same. Honestly, it's some of the best I've had, because there has to be more communication on what she can and can't do. Blind guy, about to shag. We were really good friends, then one day on my couch it happened. We started making out. We hurry off to the bed, he knew my place well, and didn't need a cane. Get there, we had been only kissing. When he found out how large my boobs were, he goes, damn nice surprise. Had no idea. I laughed and we had some really great sex. Several times. I've had a few different experiences. I hooked up with a girl with dwarfism, and it's hard to describe how it was different. I've hooked up with plenty of short girls over the years, but it's a different situation. Part of it is leverage, because of the length of the limbs, or the fact that various parts are out of proportion. The sex wasn't bad, just different. I also once dated a girl who had one of those tiny malformed arms, and the best way to describe the sex comes from Andy Botwin in Weeds. The sex was pretty good, but I loved when she jerked me off with the tiny baby hand, because it made my dick look huge. Lost our balance while changing positions and her leg fell off. We both found it most hilarious, because somehow the fact that her right leg ended mid-calf had never come up. We were both still wearing skinny jeans. It was 2009, shut up, and neither of us had managed to get them very far down before the peenie and vagini started. So we went from a 4-legged grunting sex creature to a giggling tripod, and it was still a pretty great evening. As someone with a mild disability, mild cerebral palsy, just wanted to say that you folks who have been non-judgmental, your kindness is appreciated. My boyfriend is blind and IDK, if it helps, cause he's just more in tune with my movements and body, but it's the best sex I'll ever have. Very fascinating to read as a paraplegic female who has sex with able-bodied men. Had sex with a girl with seizures by the pool. She had it after an orgasm. I held her there in my arms till she was calmer. I have hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos, which isn't exactly a disability, but I've had some strange sex stuff. Sometimes I dislocate my hip. Sometimes I tear a muscle, or, even worse, inside and bleed like crazy. Fun stuff, lol. My FWB has mild scoliosis, curved spine, and it's not that big a deal tbh, though she doesn't like doggy style. I had sex with a midget. Basically normal, though she was super tight. The only thing super weird for me was when we were doing missionary, I threw her legs up and they didn't really reach my shoulders. Kinda weird. I couldn't gently caress her and had to avoid accidental tickling because she had a skin condition that made it very painful. Albinism. Everything else was fine though. It was frustrating because I enjoy that a lot in romantic encounters. I had sex with someone who was blind. There was a lot of touching. My husband has ADHD and autism, perhaps a bit predictable, but he gets distracted sometimes and loses his, shall we say, stiffness. Overall good though. I feel like him, slightly off topic, but I'm epileptic and had a seizure during sex with my husband once while we were dating. He thought he had done really well. I imagine that was a surprise for him. Slept with a girl that was definition, and it was very weird hearing the moans and trying to communicate while mid-coitus. I'm the disabled one here. There are things I can't do, but things I still can, and if my partner wants to try something new, She doesn't get any complaints from me. I've had several girls just stop talking to me once they learn about the wheelchair, but I'm good with that. I don't want those kind of folks in my life for any reason. Dated someone paralyzed from the waist down. He was enormous and had random hard-ons. We had a lot of sex. Only thing different was I couldn't ride him often because he'd lose the hard-on pretty quickly. I was misdiagnosed with milliseconds forever ago, and without treatment for what I actually had going on, my condition deteriorated and I used mobility aids for a while. Had some weird experiences where certain guys went after me way more intensely than I was used to. Some people definitely took advantage of my lack of strength and mobility. Turned me off 6 and made me suspicious of everyone who was actually okay with dating me despite my condition at the time. One night stand with a woman missing one eye. She had a glass eye, but took it out before 6, and she had one eye closed, so she looked like she was winking at me the entire time. I was in a relationship with a man who had survived an IED blast. He had a lot of scaring. Lost an eye and 2 limbs, arm at elbow and leg at thigh. He was timid, but in his need for gentle touch due to nerve damage made him super gentle with me. It could be excruciatingly taunting to have such feather touch foreplay and then just this amazing sex where it was like he needed to prove something. Sometimes we could get different angles without the limb prosthetics, but he did fracture my wrist once when his myoelectric arm prosthetic was new and he was pining me down. She was just really short, which at some point becomes classed as a disability. Not a whole lot different. She was just small. Had sex with girl with cerebral palsy. She had a limp, and her left arm didn't extend past 90 degrees, and aside from gripping her hand, it didn't do much else. It also didn't need to. She will be forever in the spank bank for the craziness that ensued. I had sex with a girl who had braces on her legs. She was super sweet and fun. The mechanics of actually having sex didn't really work though. Half of her backside wasn't really there, and she wasn't able to move into any position because of her legs. It was really hard to get any kind of angle. I ended up losing my erection and blamed it on the alcohol, so I didn't hurt her feelings. Gay guy, hooked up with a dude with one leg once, and honestly it made changing positions during sex so much easier with one less limb to have to work around. If you lose your virginity to someone with one leg, it makes the second person you sleep with feel like they have too many legs and take up too much space. Only had sex with a person with some sort of rheumatism. The vagina worked the same way as with a regular person, and if she stayed on her back for missionary, there was no real difference in terms of sex. The IUD was painful though, because the tip of my gland hit it when I thrust it in. So I felt a small pinch every time. I banged an amputee once at a house party and was unaware until I grabbed her ankles to flip her around and her freaking leg came off in my hand. I was shocked. I laughed and screamed at the same time and my buddies came to see what happened, and now I'll never live down my peg leg pirate booty story. Hey, thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.